Welcome everyone to the Monday, October 17th Board of Supervisors meeting. Call to order, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, there were no executive sessions since the last meeting. Next item is approval of the bill list.
I will pull that up on my computer first. All right, I will make a motion to approve the bill list for September 29th, 2016 through October 13th, 2016 in the amount of $765,835.59.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion, a second for approval of the bill list from September 29th, 2016 to October 13th, 2016 in the amount of $765,835.59. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion passes. Next is the approval of minutes. Do you want to do these separately?
Yeah, we'll do them separate. I'll make a motion to approve minutes of October 3rd, 2016 Board of Supervisors meeting.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion, a second for approval of the October 3rd, 2016 Board of Supervisors meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
And I will make a motion to approve minutes for the special daytime meeting of September 27th, 2016.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion, a second for the approval of the meeting minutes for September 27th, 2016. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
That's the
None.
daytime meeting.
The daytime meeting, that's correct. Next is public comment. If you would just, you know the routine, Mr. Leonard, so.
John Leonard, 20 Meredith Road. Mr. Tiverman just advised me he's going to email me the right to know, and I guess it's a lot larger than that binder, so I don't know if there's going to be minutes to be approved for the September 27th, 7 p.m. meeting, but if there are going to be minutes that need to be approved, I would like 60 days to review the right to know stuff. Because after reading the 81 pages that you brought up on the ambulance service, I'm kind of confused why the task force wasn't started for fire service. Apparently that report goes along with the ISO report that's 32 pages long, which tells residents of the township they have an opportunity to lose 3 times the amount of whatever, home, cars, whatever, in a fire due to response times. I know response times are a situational thing for any volunteer fire company, but then again, the word volunteer always needs to be put up front. These people are taking their time, putting their lives down. In retrospect for us, after I was here at the last township meeting, I had the honor of meeting a collegial volunteer firefighter who decided to retire after 22 years because of some of the disparaging comments that's come from this board of supervisors regarding response times on a second alarm. He just said, I had enough, I'm done. And I thanked him for his service, and you know, most of the volunteer firefighters around are getting a little older, so I can see where Mr. Overholt and BlackRock have a situation. And last thing I think any township should do is kind of be a little hard on volunteer firefighters, seeing that mutual aid is the #1 thing that actually supports this township. Because technically, when 93 goes off duty, BlackRock's all we got unless we have the mutual aid. I mean, Phoenixville comes screaming in down Egypt Road behind my house. Perkiomenville's involved. You got Trapp, Collegeville, Royersford. I mean, Royersford, you talk to them guys, there's only 17 of them, and they fill out the trucks with the ambulatory guys. So, I think a task force on fire needs to be done with other townships and other boroughs and say, hey, there's a little bit of a problem coming on here, because that 14 report is the 3rd report. So there was a 2006 and a 2007 report, and the only thing that ever happened was Montclair got shut down and everything got consolidated to BlackRock. And here's the kicker. My homeowner's insurance went up $1,800 when basically the consolidation happened, because there wasn't a guarantee that that fire company was a mile out. I think a lot of homeowners really need to get involved in saying to the township, maybe it's time to go to a fully paid staff and maybe have the volunteers paid as a second bill. I don't know. But That really needs to be discovered, because I read the 81-page report, and you read it, that paragraph. And the thing it's not understandable is, in January you met a trap, but in the report that the township paid $29,000 for, it said if any ambulatory company should be brought into the interior, it was Friendship. It says right in the report. Now, I don't know the people that write the report, but I guess they're the report-writing people. They're the ones that investigate. Because what was disturbing was August 15, 2014, a fire at 200 Mill Road in the industrial complex. 93 showed up with a driver and 2 interior firefighters in 9 minutes. 99 got there 32 minutes later, and the tower got there with a driver and a junior firefighter who can't even go inside a building to fight fire, get along. I don't even know if he's actually supposed to be on a fire truck without at least one firefighter, unless he's allowed to sit up front with the driver. I don't know. But it's a little alarming. Like Ms. Turner brought it up, like there seems to be infighting. And I talked to some of my friends that volunteer down in Bucks County, and they said that's everywhere. But they said once the fire tones drop, all the game playing stops, and they get serious about fighting fires. But if there's not enough firefighters, we're going to run into a serious problem as time goes on. Because the residents in this township keep growing and growing. Businesses are expanding. I mean, I think there's a company in the minutes tonight that are asking for more parking spaces to bring more employees. It just doesn't stop. So, you know, maybe it's time to look at task force a little more seriously and like the ambulatory thing, but get our hands around the whole fire issue. Because I had a nice conversation with Ms. Turner's husband, who used to be a dive rescue firefighter for Montclair, and he basically threw up his hands, and he's kind of tough. And he's a nice guy. And it was a simple conversation. It was a good 30 minutes. He goes, I'm done. He goes, they don't take us seriously. You know, we're going into burning buildings, he said. And all they're doing is sitting there saying, well, this is too much money. You know what? There's a fire tax levy in the second-class township code you guys can go to and resolve it. That's your choice. You're the elected officials. And that's all I got. Mr. Tipperman, thanks for getting that for me.
Mr. Leonard, I have a question for you. So clearly, you're speaking to a lot of people in town. I just want to just remind you, because what I'm hearing from you is from folks outside in the public, is you're going around saying that you represent this township, which you don't. You're alluding to folks that you are actually an official of this community, which you're not. You're a citizen. You have every right to talk. But I would just ask you, or suggest highly, that you don't go representing this community in a position that you don't hold.
Well, for starters, Mr. Vagnozzi, for starters, I never once said I was a representative of this township. However, I am now an elected voter and a resident of this township.
You are.
And let me explain this to you.
Now, hang on. You're insinuating.
You're the one that cited public safety in the second-class township code.
That's right.
So if you read through and you get down to tax levies, it puts on there how you can install a levy for the ambulatory company and the fire companies. But, you know, in January,
we're well aware of our options. We are. The sitting board here and the people that work in this community are well aware of it. All I'm saying to you is the information that I'm receiving is that you're out there knocking on the doors of the ambulances and the ambulance units and the fire units, and you're not necessarily saying it, but you're implying that you're representing this community. And the folks that you're talking to, you're not talking to necessarily all the senior leaders in the associations, because they know who we are. It's the folks that are in the fire bays and the ambulance bays that aren't familiar with everybody. You're coming upon them and you're talking to them like you are there on official business, which is not the case. I would just ask you you don't represent. You are not an official of this community. You are a resident, absolutely, but you are not an elected official. You're not an employee of this community. So when you do talk to people, make it clear that you are as a resident of the community and you're out there as a concerned resident, and that's it.
And that's what I am.
Okay, let's just make sure we're on the same page.
Concerned resident. When I talk to Brian at Lower Providence, concerned resident.
Okay.
When I talk to Georgia Friendship, concerned resident. Okay? We have that on the record.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, just one other thing, Mr. Leonard, just so that you're aware, Upper Providence Township supports these volunteer fire companies financially more than most surrounding townships.
Well, would that be because we're 18 square miles and we're over 23,000 plus residents, and
I'm
We
talking
have
about the
several
dollar,
fortunate-
I'm talking about the dollars and cents that we provide to the volunteer fire companies in and around this township. Well, at one time it was 6, now it's 5. We've provided them with financial support and apparatus as long as I've sat on this board, equal to the amount that you have suggested. Okay, that's all I need to say.
Thank you.
Kathy Turner, 411 Egypt Road. Mr. Valenozzi, you made a comment about him stating that he is going around representing the township. Now, if I remember correctly, you had gone around, and you are official of the township, but you went around and checked out the ambulance things, and that was, I think, that should have been done as a group thing. Now, you said to him that he's going around saying this, and you are a representative of the township, but there's 2 other advisors on this board. So along the lines, you really don't have any reason to say that, because you're almost doing the same thing, except you're missing 2 board members. So, you know, just on the record, if he's not allowed to do it, then I don't think you should. I think all 3 of you should be included. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to, we have no public hearing this evening, so we'll move on to old business, and I think Mr. Mullen is here for the SEI presentation.
Yes, sir.
You're under old business, Ed.
I'm feeling real. Anyhow, we're here tonight to talk about SEI. Mike Gladnick is here, and Greg Gettinger from SEI. Greg's going to first of all tell you what the problem is, and it's good news in the sense that SEI is getting a lot of new customers, and because of that, they have to hire new people. And like a lot of other areas in the municipality, we don't necessarily need more buildings right now, but we need more parking, because we got to be able to park these people. So what Greg is going to do is explain to you what's happening and what is needed and why it's needed here before things happen in Malvern, which is an option for them. And then Mike Gladnick will talk about the different ways we think we can solve the problem. So Greg, you want to?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Ed. My name is Greg Gettinger. I'm with SEI Investments Company. Almost 20 years ago, next month, we moved into the township, and we were very happy to do so. We came here with 609 people. I remember that number exactly. It was a tough project to get us squeezed in on time. But today, we're over 4,000 around the globe. Most of them are right here in the Philadelphia suburbs. We have about 3,200 on our campus, just a couple miles from here. Back in January, though, we ran out of space, we ran out of parking. We signed a couple of new contracts, and so that's good news for our people. But we had to move about 275 people to Malvern. We just signed another lease in Malvern. Next month, we'll move in another 100 and some people out to Malvern. And we're looking at what our forecasts are over the next few years, is that we're probably going to add about 400 to 500, possibly 600 jobs in the next 3 years. And so our problem is, where are we going to put these people? Ideally, we would like to bring them into the township. If you've never been, I mean, Al's been to our campus, he's seen how unique it is, so has Brian. It's part of our culture. It's very important to our people that they feel a part of that culture and belonging to the organization. But we've been forced to move people outside of the township. We're in discussions with the landlord. They're willing to do a 10-year lease for us to give us an entire building that would accommodate about 800 people. That would make us a permanent fixture in Malvern. I mean, there's some desirability to have 2 locations in case there's a snow emergency here when people can't get to work, but we would prefer to have people here. We don't want to sign a 10-year lease out in Malvern and have those people become residents there. They're kind of a younger crowd. They're starting to get married, have kids. They'll become permanently entrenched there. And then we're going to have 2 different cultures. It's going to evolve in a typical corporate environment versus the SEI environment that's been very successful. So, as Ed alluded to, We've got space, we want to build more space in the township at our adjacent parcel, but between now and the next few years it's going to take to develop that parcel, we've got a parking problem. So we've been racking our brains. Mike Gladnick has been putting together some ideas. We're basically trying everything we can think of to try to expedite that process so we can keep our people here. So, good news, bad news. So we're just, we're looking for ideas and a little bit of help. Thank you.
Mike?
Sorry. My name is Michael Gladnick. I'm with Advanced Geo Services. We are the civil engineers for SEI. I'm going to sort of go through the items I put in my letter. I hope that the board got that. What Greg is talking about is parking that we would like to try to get for him immediately, because there is space within the building, but we can't use it because we can't put any more bodies on that campus because there are no parking spaces. So our first approach has been to look for parking that, for all intents and purposes, already exists or is already paved. One of those strategies SEI is already employing to a certain extent, in that they're doing some valet parking on the campus. We could make that a little more robust and get probably another 60 to 75 spaces. I should say we're looking for somewhere between 200 and 250 spaces. Another strategy would be to park on the shoulders of Sager Mill Road. I'm pretty sure that's not your favorite strategy.
We've been there before.
But as I said, we're looking for alternatives here. Another location, the Lower Parkdale Valley Park parking lot. We've been out there multiple times looking during the day. There may be between 2 and 10 cars there at any given time, and there are 103 spaces there. SEI would have to employ a shuttle to do that. And again, another immediate parking that we could use right now to get that going. While those strategies are, and the other one would be to look for adjacent parking areas, like the area where the dump and the Oaks Center there. There's parking again during the day. The dump isn't open during the week. We would have to negotiate with the landowner there. But again, we're looking at all the possibilities. While if we can get a couple of those going and get that immediate parking, that helps keep those employees here and saves SEI from having to get into long-term leases at other locations. Another strategy that we're looking, which has a little longer lead and is probably what we're looking for the most guidance from you tonight, is the SEI owns the approximately 40-acre parcel north of the existing campus on the other side of Upper Indian Head Road. We could use the existing driveway, upgrade it, and put a parking lot there, but we'd like to go as fast as we can there and not do a permanent facility there, because our next step, which you'll hear in a moment, is to start to develop that campus. If we can do that parking lot on the north campus under a grading permit with the township, it will go quicker. Some of the regulations in land development that would make that prohibitive would not have to be accomplished. We also would need to get a permit from the Conservation District for some erosion control and the NPDES permit, but we'd like to take both of those on simultaneously. The NPDES permit with the county and the grading permit with you to get, again, 200 spaces that would alleviate some of this remote parking that we're talking about. If we can get that in place, the next step would be to take on as you know, the temporary parking lot, to bring that up to township's code. We're looking at another parking lot on the other side of the pond. That proposal would have to come to you as a land development. Again, little longer lead time, which is why we need these other strategies prior to that. With that in place, the South Campus would have the parking that we need that could accommodate the population there. And then we would make the next step into going into land development to bring Building 12, which would be about 150,000 square foot building. That would be the first building on the North Campus. That's where we're trying to go.
And I guess what we're really requesting tonight is that we be able to work across the street, as Mike said, on a grading permit rather than a land development plan, and have a temporary situation, making it very clear that it's temporary, and entering into an agreement with the township that we would stop that use, and either on an outside date that we can agree to, or when this parking lot would be approved through the land development process. So what we're really looking for is consent to be able to build across the street with a grading permit, as opposed to land development.
Well, I guess the first question that comes to mind is your existing parking lot, and for the benefit of people that have not been involved with this before, is a temporary parking lot that has never been finished. Okay, and I'm going to say 8 months ago, you were on a fast track to put in a 500 space parking lot. You submitted a plan, and now you've withdrawn that plan, so now it's critical again. And what's taking place? I mean, my concern is, how temporary is it going to be? I mean, we have one down there that's temporary for 15 years that doesn't have adequate lighting, landscaping, or anything on it. Now you want to build another one across the street, which I would love to have all your people come to and live in the township and work in the township, believe me. But if we put a stone parking lot across the street on a temporary basis that we waive, I think, was it 32 items in the subdivision land development ordinance you were talking about, Bill, would have to be waived to put that in on a grading permit. What if someone gets hurt down there and we've waived all these safety issues?
Want to address that?
Yeah, first of all, we wouldn't do it in stone, we would pave it with binder, which would come out through the process. If I can hit on a couple of those, Mr. Porter. Yes, the parking lot's been there and is in this sequence. What we're trying to do, as you can see in the sketch, is bring that up to your code, get some more parking down there to get the South Campus up to its parking count. If we were able to do that, then we would be able to take that temporary lot across the street out. But with the land development, what happens is the parking lot not only becomes a parking lot, it becomes a stormwater management construction project, in that the requirements to take the 50 years pre-op stormwater from post 2 makes us do a stormwater basin that is completely in the way of the next development that we're trying to accomplish for Building 12. And you saw that in the submission that we did withdraw. We were struggling with how do we make the next move now. We put this stormwater management in, and it's sitting where the building is that we want to do in the next phase. And what we're saying now is if we can get this parking and push it all the way to the sort of the northeast corner of the site, out of the way of that building, we do stormwater. We're not saying we won't do stormwater. We just don't want to do it to the 50 to the 2 numbers. That would allow us to make that next step without ripping out the parking lot as we do it.
And in fact, the temporary parking lot that we're talking about could then be used as a staging area for the new construction of the building that's going to come through the regular land development process. Also,
How can you do that if it's being used for employee
because by
parking?
then, this will be approved through the land development process.
Okay, I guess I'm not seeing I don't
I-
fully understand the timeline.
I'm having trouble with the timeline. I'm having trouble with your math and your timeline.
Okay, so first of all, let's answer Phil's direct question.
Go ahead.
What happened, we were here 7 months ago, et cetera. What happened was because of the length of time a land development process would take, we didn't have any choice. We had to move over to Malvern and get a lease and put the people there because we didn't have room for them, they needed to park. So now what we're proposing is that we, in addition to the ideas of the county or the dump or whatever, what we're trying to do is say, okay, let us just go across the street and build a parking lot, blacktop, paver, not with little planting islands and stuff. We have no problem agreeing to lighting it and making it safe for the people to cross. Then do that on a quick track basis, immediately file formal land development plans for a parking lot that you referred to as a temporary 15-year parking lot.
Right.
So do that. As that gets done, we can stop using the other one and would enter into an agreement that says we will do that.
But the 15-year temporary is already full. That's where I'm confused. If that's already full and you're building,
There's additional parking. This is.
that's the temporary there.
We're talking about adding parking to that.
Okay, so you're going to add those spaces over there, okay.
Can
And
they
that would
do
all,
that in floodplain?
Yes, it is. We need
Yeah.
a special exception to do that.
Because that was originally going to be a garage down there, wasn't it? Wasn't that part of the
Parking
original?
garage?
Yeah, there was supposed to be a garage down there. So this is not what you're going to do. This is not what you're asking us for
This-
tonight.
Tonight, we're asking you for across the street. We don't have a
So,
drawing.
help me with the math here, because this is where I was getting confused. All right, so you have room for 3,200 on campus right now. That's how many you have, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you have 275 currently at Malvern?
Yes, we have 275 at Malvern, and one day last week, we were down to 3 parking spaces.
Okay, so you have 275 people at Malvern right now.
In the second week of November, we're moving another 100
Moving another 100 from where?
from the existing campus.
From Upper Providence down to Malvern?
Yes, because we
Okay.
probably have 250 outstanding work requisitions for new jobs to fill.
So you'll be hiring
So is
250 new people.
You're hiring,
Every Monday morning, there's a half a dozen to 3 dozen people standing out in front of security getting their badges.
okay, so you're not taking 200 people from the 3,200 you have here now, correct? When you say you're going to move another 100 down to Malvern, that's not moving them, that's hiring new people.
No, we're moving them because they're a part of a team. There's a big group,
So that is going to lower the number of people at Upper Providence to 3,100.
which is going to hopefully get us through
All right, peanut gallery.
We were in the same situation last year where we were valet parking people.
Okay.
And we got to the Thanksgiving to New Year's slowdown, and we survived. Then we moved 275 people. That bought us,
You're going to move those people out there, so that'll be 375 people moving out to Malvern.
potentially going up to 450 max.
That would be moving or new hires?
I would say that they will continue to hire. This is a part of,
All right, but the current of the 3,200 that you have right now, the current number of those people is 375, for sake of argument, that are moving from here to Malvern, correct?
275 moved back in January.
So you have 275 there now?
Yes, another
Okay.
100 are moving in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, so it's the math I'm not getting. So I'm,
I think I
but wait,
understand what
you
you're
see what I'm saying? I'm saying
3,200.
3,200,
That
if
does
we're,
not include the 275 that moved
in
before.
January.
Right.
Now we're gonna have another 100 move, so now you're taking 100 off, you're down to 3,100.
But they're hiring people every
And
day.
we're gonna hire 250 people?
but,
So your goal at the end of this, so you're saying you have 3,200 people in Upper Providence, 250 or 75 in Malvern. In 3 years, if you do everything you want to do, you basically now want to have about 3,800 plus people.
I
Right?
get the,
Right?
no,
Is that
I'm
the
not,
end
no,
game?
that's
Okay.
not where I'm going with this
Okay.
at all. What I'm trying to figure out is how you're going to avoid this 10-year lease in Malvern. Because to me, it sounds like you're never going to have enough room at Upper Providence to fill, to put these in here, to put these people here. Regardless of whether you have enough parking, you don't have enough room for them. I mean, if you're talking about hiring 400 to 600 people in the next 3 years, unless you're going to be building like gangbusters down there, you're not going to have the room for them. Is that correct?
Exactly. So
All right,
that's
so
our-
you're going to have to lease this building in Malvern regardless. Is no, why, you're shaking your head no.
You're
Explain to me.
absolutely correct, but here's
That's
the
where I'm
thing.
getting confused. Explain this to me.
If we are fast-tracking development across the way with a big footprint of 150,000 square feet plus,
To be occupied in 3 years is what we're anticipating.
exactly, then we can tell our people, okay, we're gonna have you in a third location. So we're gonna grow based upon parking, another 250 people here. We might have to put another 150 over time in King of Prussia. So now we're spread out in 3 locations, which is worse than being in 2 locations. But if we can tell our people it's not for 10 years, which means forever to them, it's for 2.5 years, then everybody comes home. So it's, you know, it's a morale thing, it's also a long-term strategy thing. But to make a big commitment to Malvern, that's long-term. If it's a short-term, and we only need, say, 50,000 square feet to get us through, because we're squeezing in 250 more here, we're parking them here down in this area that we're proposing, we can do a shorter-term lease in King of Prussia. But no one's gonna lease us, you know, 200,000 square feet for 2.5 years. You just can't fit it out and put the improvements in it and make it justifiable. It's too much throwaway. You're gonna have to invest for the long term. That's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to keep as many people here.
You're out, so you have 275 in Malvern, you need to hire another 100 or so, whatever. That existing office building doesn't have it, so you're just gonna find a spot to put people in. So temporarily, you're finding a couple of different offices if you need to house people, but ultimately for business continuity, you wanna get them back here. And if for some reason you can't move forward with this, you will make that decision to put them all in a big facility in one location with the 10-year lease you referred to. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is, because the
Okay.
landlord there would be willing to relocate their other tenants, give us that whole building, and make it sort of a permanent second campus for SEI. But if we're just looking at putting another 150 people in 45,000 square feet in King of Prussia, I can do, with the same landlord, I can rent 1 floor of their building for 2.5 years. They're not going to go to the expense of turning it one building, so we're consolidated in Malvern with the potential to grow to 800 people. They're not going to relocate those tenants for a 3 or 4 year deal. They've already said we need a 10-year deal because we just signed those leases. We've got to uproot them, build out space for them in a new facility, pay for all their move costs. They've got to amortize that into the new rent stream. So it's a lot to ask them to do. So consequently, long-term lease.
So what is the time frame on seeing these development plans come to us?
Mike?
So the first one, if we're doing grading permit, would.
Well,
continue
you're here with
within-
that now, so you can just skip over that one.
But within, like say, a month or so, to give us time to develop the plans here, we can be back in with the land development plan.
I think
for the
what I-
parking lot
For
on
the
south
parking
end.
lot.
For the parking lot, and then would we
How
have,
long would it take for the building?
then we would have the building coming in right after that. I mean, I think I would like to see some kind of a timeline, some kind of a definite timeline, because I don't want another 15-year temporary lot down there.
We can develop that. I need to work with the architect to develop the timeline for the full development, because we're working together, and we can put that together for you.
Well, your previous plan on the 500 space parking lot had all those buildings and how they would disappear over time.
Yeah.
So some of that work's already been completed, I would imagine.
But this lot isn't going that same place,
No.
is that correct?
No. that's-
Okay, because if I recall, that lot basically was on top of every building you wanted to build down there.
Right. The strategy there was that it would be similar to when SEI first came in with the land development plan for the full development, and then brought a final plan in for the first 5 buildings with parking on grade. And then over time, that parking has gone away and become mostly parking garages. One of the things that we're looking at right now is it may be just as feasible to start with the parking garage for the campus across the street. We're looking at that right now. So build this big parking lot that's gonna get eaten up. So we're looking at alternatives there.
And if I could suggest, perhaps what we could do is agree to the concept of the grading plan, subject to a timetable for the land development for the lot, the land development for the building satisfactory to the board. And you could, I don't know if you want us to come back, or we just work it out through Bill Dingman and your solicitor.
Well, I've had a conversation with Brian, and we talked about some drop dead dates that things had to be completed by
Okay,
if we were to consider this,
okay.
and how they would get worded and put into some sort of agreement would be up
Well,
to.
the timetable would have to come from you all, obviously, that's not, I wouldn't be comfortable making a call like that. But whatever you want is, I can work with Ed to put into an agreement.
Well, maybe if we're all in agreement to let them move forward in some fashion, is maybe Bill get together with Mr. Gladnick and come up with what's a reasonable time frame and what you're gonna complete, and what happens if you don't complete that. I mean, like you said, we're not looking for another 15-year temporary parking lot. So,
I mean,
like I said,
I'm-
I'm willing to work with you.
Based on what I've heard tonight, I'm thinking that we're going to have development plans in here for the next year from you guys, because you want to be at 800 people within 3 years. So to me, it seems like there's a pretty urgent need to come in here with a
Absolutely.
development plan.
You're absolutely right.
So it shouldn't be, the timeframe can, to my mind, can be pretty short.
Well, the only thing, as Mike just said, is we have to get the architect to give us the details so that he can do the engineering and
Completely
submit the plan.
Okay. Okay. I think that, I guess the next move is for Mike to get a timetable together of and have Bill review the timetable. And at that point,
Joe could do an agreement.
Joe can work on an agreement, and you can submit a temporary grading plan. And Bill will have to review that and make recommendations on that,
Great.
as far as water retention, base, whatever you think, Bill.
Okay.
Because it has to go to the county also, right? A grading permit has to be approved by the
I
county.
have a question for the board, I guess.
Sure.
Under this scenario, there's going to be, Mike?
Yeah, use
It appears to be 300 parking spaces or so in the floodplain, ultimately, that would be permanent.
Pardon me, I missed your,
There'd be approximately 300 parking spaces located permanently in the floodplain that would be utilized forever. They would never go away.
Correct.
I mean,
but they're the ones that exist now?
approximately 150, 180 exist today.
But they have to go through an approval process to get the next 150 in?
Yep.
Okay. And there'll be escrows placed for all the reviews and
Absolutely.
completion?
We will do that if it's not already.
I don't think I have anything as of this moment. We've talked about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything else that you?
Professional service agreement, yeah. All
Okay.
right. Good, thank you.
Okay. So our next item on the agenda would be
More old business.
more old business. Ridgewood Phase 2 tentative subdivision plan.
very old.
Okay. It's old business again. Maybe we get our pretty picture up here.
What's it called? All right, just go in there. Okay, go in number 4. Okay, and then rendering, so 1.
Floodplain rendering would be a special exception, so that would go before the zoning hearing board. We probably want to make a recommendation to the,
Their original plan called for a parking garage, which if they put it up on stilts, it wouldn't be in the floodplain. That was the original,
There, huh?
if I remember.
I understand
correctly.
there's a lot of history on this.
Okay. If you recall, we were here back, I believe it was around April, and we showed you a plan very similar to this one, and we discussed it and decided to we should move forward with a tentative plan, which is what we're talking about now. One of the big concerns that was expressed by the board was parking. And you actually charged Jeff with doing the parking analysis of some other developments in the township. And as it turned out through that process, we determined that what we're proposing is more than any you have today. We have, Jeff, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, slow down.
I thought it was the plan, I thought it was the planning commission that charged you that.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. If somebody charged you with going out and looking at the other developments, including one that was coming in for an additional 100 spaces because they needed them. I think it was Longford.
Yeah,
Yes.
It turns out that we have more than Longford after it adds its 100 spaces. So we met, we got review letters from everybody, and we agreed with all the review letters. One of the things we're proposing to do is to do a trail, combination trail and sidewalk along Linfield Trap Road for the frontage of both Phase 1 and Phase 2. I don't think we have to do Phase 1, but it makes sense, so we've agreed that we're going to do that. And I believe that Jeff met with our people and Sue Barker on the site and talked about what part would be trail, what part would be sidewalk. Then Linfield Trap Road will be widened for the entire frontage of Phase 2, which is the right-hand side. We will do a traffic impact study, and I think Ken actually called it an analysis, and we will do that. We did hear very clearly, despite our arguments to the contrary, that the roads will be 32 feet wide. So we got that message, and we understand that. One of the things that we talked about, and maybe we could show that slide now, the parking question.
Yes.
The subdivision land development ordinance says you can't back out, you can't park perpendicularly to your street. You have to have like little bays, you have to have little parking areas. This shows the difference of what we can do. The bottom one is the parking bays, and as you can see, they're not conveniently located to the houses where the people were going for the Super Bowl party or whatever. Whereas the perpendicular spaces are located much closer, and in addition, we can put a lot more in there. Greg, what's the difference in numbers? It's 32
Well,
versus...
in this segment here, it's perpendicular parking is about double the on-street parking.
Okay. So the planning commission, we had asked them, even though this is tentative, and we're not required to ask for waivers at this point, we had asked them to recommend to you that we do have a waiver when we come in, because you don't want to go designing the whole plan and engineering it one way and then ending up doing it a different way. Other than that, I think we're in compliance with all the review letters and happy to answer any questions you have.
Well, my question is, which parking are you proposing to use?
The upper,
The upper one?
yeah. That's the perpendicular parking, and as you can see, it gets it closer to the houses that it's going to serve.
Okay, so that just shows one road. Is that, which,
That would be
If you
typical.
go back to the other colorized rendering, you'll see that they're all in there. That was the original.
okay. So when you did your parking count, did you include the garages? In parking in,
We have done a breakdown that we provided to Jeff,
so it includes a parking in the garage?
Yeah, so this plan's like 3.85 is what this one comes out over the whole project, but we did a detailed breakdown for each phase that we supplied to Jeff.
When we say we have more than any other townhouse job in the township, what we're talking about is not counting the parking garages. We have excess spaces for guests and visitors more than anybody else.
Are you talking about parking spaces per unit total? As
I don't know
to
that.
the number of
What's
units?
the total number of parking spaces,
This-
including garages?
This plan shows 3.85 spaces per unit. And that's shown on the bottom right, 3.85 calculations.
So that's 3.85
That's
means
not-
one in the garage, one in front of the garage.
Average of all the sections.
I think that 3.85 number includes parking in garages, because the way the ordinance is written, the language of the ordinance says that they can include in-garage parking in their parking calculation, which their plan does correctly. In your packet was the chart that I sort of worked out with it. We went back and forth and worked out. For Ridgewood, it works out to be per unit parking non-driveway, which I think is the sort of the big question here, is 0.61 spaces per unit. Everything else is around, well, I'm sorry, phase 2 is 0.65. So that's probably a better number to use anyway, because the first phase was parked under the previous. So 0.65, you're talking more than the other developments in the township at this point. And that's purely visitor parking, not parking in your driveway, not parking in your garage. 0.65.
Per unit.
Per unit. I know, it's an odd number.
Two-thirds of a car.
What's 2/3 of a car, but it's also 2/3 of a car on top of 2 other spaces.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So.
Yeah,
so
I get
you
what you're
have,
saying.
You know, you have your spouse, and then if you have a teenager that drives, there's a spot for them, or if you have a visitor, you know, and that's for every unit has 2/3 of a car. You have a Super Bowl party, there's the antisocial types like me that don't, and, you know, they may not have the party, so.
Okay, can you explain the 1 acre tract in the back that was formerly a dog park?
What happened there was a certain supervisor told us that he didn't want the house to be out on Linfield Trap Road because he thought it was ugly and wanted it to be torn down. And our agreement, our restriction that we de-restricted and came up with said that would add this number of units plus 1 additional single-family dwelling. So we moved it. And we moved it back towards the other single families that'll be located through the Hess property.
So they're going to have, they'll have access through the townhouse development as part of the association?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The supervisor did not say that was an ugly building.
With that?
The supervisor did not say that that was an ugly
A
building.
certain supervisor.
Is that the top right corner? Is that where the house
Bottom
is?
right corner.
Bottom right.
Well, the dots with the dog park, right?
And they could change it to a lot, a
Okay,
building lot.
but the house, the house that isn't ugly, that was the upper right corner? Is that where that is today? Right?
The upper right was the ugly house.
All right, well, really wasn't
That
that,
was the unfortunate ugly house.
all right.
Who's going to own the roads?
We are,
Okay.
which is
There's
one of
gonna
the
be an
reasons
HOA?
we want them to be narrower. That was okay. Yes, it'd be HOA. In fact, there'll be a separate HOA that will enter into an agreement with the first HOA to share costs. It makes no sense for them to get a snowplow and us to get a snowplow, and so it'll all be worked out.
Well, when the residents were in here, there was an issue about the sewer treatment plant too, is that?
And that's going to be maintained, in fact, it's being maintained by the DeSantos right now until such time, I don't remember exactly when it triggers, but then it goes to the association, and then both associations will maintain it. And we found through the process that there's actually a payment being made at each settlement to build up a fund to do that.
Question, regarding the county opinion, and maybe you worked this out already. They talked about 5 stall parking spaces in the turnarounds in the cul-de-sacs, the 2 cul-de-sacs. Has that been rectified?
Oh, where they were concerned? I don't remember that.
It's,
We can delete those out.
it says 2
Yeah.
cul-de-sac streets are proposed as part of the development.
Yes, we can delete that.
That's on page
Yep,
13 of the attachment.
can, yep.
It's the county opinion. So they're going to be removed?
Yep.
Good. Okay.
So you guys are you guys doing a traffic impact study for us? Is that what,
Yes.
I do understand that. Now, did you
Yes,
get?
it was actually detailed in the review letter as to exactly the intersections that would be studied.
Okay, because you guys have to get an HOP too, don't you?
We're not sure that we do because we're not doing any work on the state roads.
I thought I
So-
remember reading that somewhere. Did I
We're
read
gonna
that
have to
somewhere?
do the widening work there and on the field.
Oh, that's right, Winfield Trap would be one, I forgot, that's a state road. So yes, we would have to get an HOP.
Did I correct you?
Yes, you did. See, that's the advantage of being old business.
And you put
That's old business.
sidewalks on Linfield Trap?
Yes, sidewalk and trail.
Trail.
So
So-
sidewalk,
Part of it trail, part of it sidewalk.
Essentially, between the 2 entrance roads will be
Yeah.
sidewalk.
yeah.
It will be trail going to let's say, going left on the screen towards I guess that's the Y, that area, will be trail.
Okay. Both sides of the street?
It's already on the other side of the street.
And on the right side? That's going to be trail?
I think we said that was trail, didn't we? Yeah, yeah, that was trail.
But I read where the planning commission was recommending to waive the community impact statement, is that correct?
Well, because it was done already.
But it was done for the original Ridgewood, right?
No, it was done for this.
It was done for this.
For rezoning, for the rezoning to R4.
Okay.
Yep.
Have any other questions on this?
Are there sidewalks inside? Because I can't see. Where are the sidewalks?
Both sides.
Both sides?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So we have to agree to that proposed change in parking, right? Is that what there is before?
Are you going to put any amenities on here at all? Clubhouse, anything like that?
No clubhouse, but yes, amenities. We want to talk about the amenities. Don't all stand up at once.
I can quote my letter saying that some amenities should be provided. We haven't determined what those are yet.
Because it's not going to be the dog park anymore.
No, it is not the dog park anymore. They are providing trails and connecting to the Hess property to the south and to the Taylor property the township owns to the west. There's an area, if you go straight down that sort of the right-hand vertical road, we've sort of talked about something going in there. We haven't gotten to the point of saying if it's X, Y, or Z yet. But we do know
We've
that,
agreed to work with Jeff. on
Yeah.
whatever.
This is just tentative, so that we're.
right, it's just tentative, so we're still in the
Yeah.
figuring it out
You guys
stage.
are clean.
Yeah.
That's everything I had.
I do like the way they've cleaned up the property since they've taken it over, fixing the roads up and straightening things up. It looks good.
And we want to make it nice for our prospective buyers too.
And obviously, it was a parking problem with only 27 homes here. I mean, you have
Yeah.
parking restrictions
Well, that's one
all
of the
over the
things.
place.
It's one of the reasons why we moved that house too, because we're going to be able to provide some more parking for phase one people up there. So,
Okay. I will make a motion to approve municipal plan number 8-007-001-1119, tentative subdivision land development plan for Ridgewood Phase 2, 304 Linfield Trapp Road, subject to Gilmore and Associates letter dated 6/30/16, Grace Planning Associates dated 8/2/16, McMahon Associates dated 8/2/16, Fire Marshal's letter dated 5/6/16, Montgomery County Planning Commission dated 8/19/16. The applicant will agree to construct a trail or sidewalk along Linfield Trap Road for the frontage of both Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the Ridgewood development. The applicant will agree to widen Linfield Trap Road where Phase 2 of the Ridgewood development has frontage along Linfield Trap Road. The applicant is not required to widen the existing portions of Jacobs Drive and is not required to submit a new community impact statement, all in accordance with the Planning Commission recommendation of September 14th, 2016. End of motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for plan of Ridgewood Phase, Ridgewood Phase 2, municipal plan 8-007-001-1119, tentative subdivision land development 304 Linfield Trap Road in accordance with the Planning Commission's recommendation of September 14th, 2016, that was just read by Ms. Mossy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion
Thank you.
carries. Okay. Next is a resolution 2016-44.
This is our cleanup ordinance.
Yes, this is the 3 roads. that-
It's not a cleanup ordinance, it's the resolution for dedication.
But these are,
Yeah,
but these are roads that we've
That's
had
correct.
for
That's
quite some
correct.
time. All right, so,
Just a quick question for Bill. These 3 roads are at Ravenwood.
Correct.
I know it's been a long time, but they're in, I mean, we can't go back to the developer at this point, but they're in pretty good shape.
I haven't looked at it myself, I noticed they're not on the F list. That's the very fine list. But, no, I haven't looked at it for a while, but, it's probably maybe 2010 was the last time this development came up, when they pushed the trail through McFarland Park. And we're dealing with the culvert on Egypt Road and the funds for that. The developer was bankrupt, I think, at that time. I think the township took some funds at that time that were left over, and I think PennDOT has some funds.
Right. The question I had was, my recollection was some of the houses in there had grading issues,
Correct.
and were they all squared away, or? Haven't heard it?
Hasn't rained, or we haven't heard from them since 2010. So,
But we're not accepting any,
private land or anything like that.
this is just the dedication of the roads.
and there was no money to release,
No.
right? There's no escrow left for that development,
not to my knowledge.
okay.
And these are roads that we're already plowing and taking
Correct.
care of anyway?
Yes.
Yes, all right. All right, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2016-44, resolution confirming the dedication of Bryce Way, Page Lane, and Laurel Lane Extension.
We have a motion and a second for resolution number 2016-44, confirming dedication of Bryce Way, Page Lane, and Laurel Lane Extension. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, next is consider adoption of resolution 2016-47, accepting dedication of right-of-way on Black Rock Road.
Mr. Chairman, the Exhibit A did not make it in your packet, so you should have hard copies that I distributed to everybody.
All right, is this 46 or 47, Tim? Because
Oh, my goodness.
It went out in error as 46 in the original,
It's
46
46.
in the original packet,
But
but
it
this
is-
is the right
it
one.
is
It's
47, and the one
Gotcha.
for execution is 47.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Brian.
Brian.
We're accepting dedication of this so that we can have, so that Glaxo can construct the trail, correct?
It's the grant that we applied for.
Okay.
The plan, the last land development plan that was done for the Quest property offered for dedication along both Black Rock and Collegeville Roads, the land between the ultimate right-of-way and the legal right-of-way for dedication. We couldn't find any record of having taken that land, taken dedication of that land, and we require it in order to construct the trail, otherwise we risk constructing the trail on Quest property. Can't find any record that we accepted dedication of it in the past, so we're asking you to do it again today, perhaps for the first time, so that we have the right of way to construct the trail in.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 2016-47, to accepting dedication of certain land on the Quest Diagnostics property be used for a portion of the Black Rock Road Trail.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second for resolution 2016-47, accept dedication of land on the Quest Diagnostics property to be used for a portion of the Black Rock Road Trail. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Okay. Next item would be to consider adoption of resolution 2016-48, authorizing defined contribution pension plan for new hires, new full-time hires.
New full-time non-police hires. This does not affect the police. And, if you recall, a couple meetings ago, we split out the non-union for the fire and for the regular non-fire. What this does is it amends the non-union plan to creates an amendment creating the defined contribution plan. Right now, we have 2 people in that, myself and Brian. We're making this retroactive to January 1st. It also does one other thing. It reduces our contributions by about 200 basis points, and it also eliminates the drop program for new hires. So this is something I've been wanting to get in place for a while.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Non-uniform personnel.
Non-uniform, non-police. This was prepared by our actuary, Mock and Hop, and was reviewed by our pension advisors. And Joe, I assume you looked at it
Yes.
also.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, no,
21648.
you got it. I will make a motion to adopt resolution number 2016-48, relative to the establishment and maintenance of the township employees' pension, annuity, insurance, and benefit fund or funds to amend certain provisions of the pension plan or program applicable to the employees of said township.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, a second for resolution 2016-48, establishing and maintenance of the township employees' pension, annuity, insurance, and benefit fund or funds to amend certain provisions of the pension plan or program applicable to the employees of said township. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, next is consider adoption,
No, this is just a review. And we're done with old business, so.
New business.
Now we're in new business. Review proposed grade F roads for inclusion in 2017 debt insurance for road improvements.
Mr. Chairman, our financial team, PFM and our bond counsel and Joe, we're still working on various debt service scenarios for our planned 2017 debt issuance. But I thought this was a good time to start discussing some of the components, the capital components that we are going to be including, we're proposing that we include in this first issue. After I'm done, Rick will have a presentation on some of the facilities. But I wanted to talk about some of our F-grade roads. I think I've given you some past handouts on what those roads are. Many people have asked, what is an F-grade road? And here are some of the warning signs. Roads that have met or exceeded their depreciated life cycle, roads that are deteriorating to the point where general patches are no longer effective, making them vulnerable to winter elements, and if left unchecked, general road infrastructure will deteriorate, necessitating a total reconstruction. For depreciation purposes, the average life cycle for a normal local road is about 20 years. And this has some assumptions. It assumes roads were constructed based on generally approved construction methods, and it assumes roads were well maintained over their expected life cycles. I will make a point, a side note, the developments that were put in place 20 years ago were probably built with different standards than some of our subdivisions today that have better roads. So, maybe our modern roads in some of our subdivisions may be able to get to 25 or 30 years. We don't know. And this is probably stating the obvious, but some of the risks of improperly maintained roads, this gets to some of our capital guideline evaluation criteria, adversely impacts our highway safety, and it tips the balance to full road reconstruction. And depending on road conditions, total road reconstruction can double the costs of a regularly maintained road. I want to talk a little bit about our history of road maintenance in the township. We have about, to give us some kudos, there are some towns that are obviously worse than we are. I think we're doing the best we could with the number of miles that we have. We have approximately 90 miles of locally maintained roads. When you look at the 20-year cycle, depreciation cycle, that means we really should be treating about 4.5 miles per year. On average, we've done a little bit less than 2 miles per year. And I've tried to graph some of this. I've looked at some facts and figures that from the Public Works Department over the past years. We have data going back to 2012 where we've done pavement and overlay in 2012, ranging from 1.1 mile, around 2.5 miles. And if you can see, the benchmark line up there is 4.5. That's what we should try to be striving to based on our 90-mile road network. And we've been kind of under that benchmark. And what we're proposing is trying to take some of our liquid fuels revenue as part of our next debt issuance and try to play catch-up here. Do you want to do the next slide, Brian? If we can leverage some of our liquid fuels in some of our road bonds, that should allow us to do around 5.5 miles next year. We have a couple, I would say about probably 2 years worth of grade F roads that we'd like to do, trying to do half of them in 2017. Want to go to the next slide? These are the roads that we're targeting. You guys, I'm still trying to learn all the neighborhoods in town, but I assume you know where some of these roads are. A lot of them are clustered. One thing that Tom and I have tried to do is take some of the roads, cluster them in some of our older neighborhoods for economies of scale. Most of these I would call would be subdivision roads, maybe non-second, I would say non-feeder roads. The last two ones, the last three, Cider Mill, Arcola Road, Lower Troutman, would be some of our secondary roads. Looking around about 2.3 million is what we would be looking at. This is not set in stone. This is something that just wanted to give you an idea of what we're looking at before we settle on what the final components will be. And not looking for any action. It was more informative because I know there's a lot of questions out there about, what are we doing with this issue? This is one major component that I have.
Well, just to kind of clarify on this, the 2.3 million that we're talking about, that's just for 2017.
That's correct.
So if we're to continue this 4.5 miles, we might be doing that into the future. Because I know in the past, we've done our road program based on what we get from liquid fuels.
Our goal is to at least try to get the grade F roads done. And we probably would be looking at something similar to this in 2018 to take care of all of our grade F roads. Then we're getting into maybe grade Cs and grade Bs. But,
Yes, one more, please. So this is a little bit deceiving here because.
Well, I know what happened in 2015.
Yeah,
I think that's where
2015.
you want to go to.
That's a very good point.
We did probably 2 million and 250, if we had at the
If all things
contracted.
being equal.
But look what we're doing in 2016. That
Yeah,
kind of makes
that's what
up
I'm saying.
for
They
that.
would come down because some of the 2016 were actually 2015 roads that we had
Wasn't
done.
that
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was
we've
missed
been
because of the net.
consistently around the 2 million a year, I would think. I don't know why 2014 is low, though. I don't recall that.
I have a listing. Tom gave me a list. I can get you all that back data to take a look at that.
But this is basically coming up now at 20 years, because this is when
A
the
lot of these-
building really started here with a lot of these
From what I
developments. Is
understand,
that
those
correct?
Cricket Lane, some of those other roads are part of the early subdivisions that are about 20 years. And Bill, I'll ask you, some of the road, maybe the standards of the roads back are different than, I'm dating you because you were,
There were some changes in the asphalt mix, from PennDOT, which they struggled with for a few years, and I think that's generally the Country Ridge one, I think, was that scenario. So there's some of that in there too, because that is less than 20 years, Country Ridge is.
But that's the entire development, just about, I think, listed on there.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I think that whole development is listed on there,
Yes,
Cricket
yeah.
Lane Country Ridge, yeah.
and our goal is to try to cluster these for economies of scale, trying to move those around. But in answer to your question, we probably have one more years where if we can maintain that type of funding for 18, we should be able to tackle most of our F roads. That'll get us back into the D plus C roads.
But what
But,
we're talking about with 2017 and 2018 is the part of the debt issuance that we're
That's correct.
contemplating this
Yeah,
year.
that's correct. And what we're looking at is perhaps leveraging some of our liquid fuels monies, because that's when the state passed its gas tax. We are benefiting.
Yes.
There is a little bit of a trickle down effect to what we're getting in our gas tax. It's
You send it away to get it back.
yeah. But with interest rates pretty low, it might make sense to try to get a head start on some of these roads.
Thank you for that.
Okay, next item would be the Presentation by architect Rick Stamper of planned improvements for Black Rock Municipal Campus. We have to do that.
Zoom in on that a little bit. Yeah. There you get the whole building.
All right. That looks good. Good evening, everyone. And I guess I should present to the people, and I apologize for my back being to you, but it's helpful if I'm looking at what I'm talking about as well. We were charged with, if anybody's been through the township building, it's very maze-like. There's not very, it's not very conducive to an office-type environment where people have to interact with different departments and things. There's double-loaded corridors and things that just, it's a maze. It's a lot of wasted space. And when we started the study, I wasn't even sure if we'd be able to salvage the existing building. And after doing the study, we actually determined that we could. And so that was very good that we're able to reuse the existing building. And then part of that was to bring this building, the meeting room, over across the street. So it's the one-stop shopping idea. The public can come in, come to the reception window and get basically everything they need from the township. And then on that path is the meeting room off of that. So in the floor plan on the screen, the grayed out area is the footprint of the existing building. And then the white area with new lines on it defines the new construction. So we're behind, point on the screen here. The entry here, you come into the reception window, and this basic loop here is the public zone. So we have a meeting hall that'll accommodate up to around 230 people. Then we have conference rooms off of that public way, which are each accessible then from the backside from the employee's side. So any kind of meetings that they need to have, they can have while still maintaining the public side and the private side. And then the open office area here with the township and assistant manager, and then off of that, department heads and the building department. So they're all, this is much more conducive for just general daily efficiency of operations. So what I'll do, we'll show you the model of what this looks like. If you keep that plan in mind, the addition was placed out in front of the building, kind of in the courtyard area. And so what that does, that actually gives us the benefit of presenting the new structure towards Black Rock Road. And in this model, you'll see the existing police building in terms of giving it some context. And we went through and presented a number of different scenarios of what it could look like in terms of what it should respect and what it should react to and how it should fit in. And with the Board of Supervisors, what we settled on was something that fit in with the existing roof lines of the existing building, so that it looks like it belongs as part of that. But it draws the materials that we use from the police station. So it starts to build, the language of kind of a campus more intentional than just haphazard different buildings. So this, we're just it's gonna be about a 3-minute walk through or fly through. This shows going around the back of the building. What we propose to do is stucco over the top of the existing brick that will match the police building. And that'll give it a whole new appearance, almost being a whole new structure. And we're able, again, to salvage the roof that was just put on last year. And we also create some nice public space out in front of the building as well. And then this is zooming back out again towards Black Rock Road, so you can kind of see the context. It does involve getting, I think there's about 50 parking spaces or so right in front of the township building. So that proximity is very nice. And then adding a field of parking, which will be, that's not so much a part of our project, but part of the Black Rock Park improvements. But we kind of tie them together, just show it in the context here. And now we're going to fly down to the front of the building and actually take you through the entry sequence and into the meeting hall and back out. I apologize for the chunkiness of this because Brian's laptop is a little weak, but so we take advantage here of the roof lines and bringing in some overhead light through dormers, again, which adds some character. During the day, you don't need to turn the lights on or anything if the room's not being used and you're going through it. And then just around the corner off to the right there was new restrooms as well to serve the capacity of the meeting room. So that does it for that, Brian. You want me to go over the budget information?
Sure.
All right, so we have basically having just done the police building, we had a good basis for actual public bid costs. So we used those numbers or use that as a basis for creating the cost of the new building. And then we have the cost of the exterior spaces, the entryways, the canopies, sidewalks, and that sort of thing within the bounds of the parking lot. So that gives us a total of 1.9 and some change for new construction. And then we go through all the different elements of the renovation work, which we put a square foot number on in terms of the amount of, I'd say, 70% of that first floor is being gutted per se. We saved what we could, but again, we didn't want to save too much because it wasn't very conducive to that. So a good portion portion of that is renovation, and then new lighting, sprinklers, all those other elements. Are just shy of $1 million there, renovation, which brings the total building cost to just over 2.9. And then we have additional soft costs and things. That does it for
Next page.
my portion. The next page is
That was right.
Is there any questions from the audience? I mean, we've presented some. Yes, Mr. Trout.
The ball
Can you
field-
come up to,
Bill Trout from Black Rock Road. The ball field, which is to the right of my place, which is to the left of this new building, is that going to be eliminated, or what's going to happen with it? That plus, where is all the parking going to come from for the new building for the residents, like this town hall here? Where's the parking going to be for that? You're only putting 50 more spaces in.
no, there's another parking on that baseball field going towards your.
Okay.
So to answer your
question, the baseball field will go away. So that's being eliminated? Yes, and that'll be a parking lot that'll serve all of Black Rock. Okay, another question. The trees that are on your side that are buffering me right now, they're aging out. Am I correct? They are aging out.
What does
They're
aging?
white pines. And no, they're dying underneath. is what they're doing. No, are they going to be replaced in this whole scheme of things?
Well, we haven't looked at that in that much detail.
We haven't gotten that far along in the plan yet.
I know
There's,
you have a nice buffer there, as it is.
Yeah.
Jeff would answer that at some point.
I think we can talk about that as we get further down the road. We certainly haven't gotten to that point yet.
What's the time frame on that?
what do you think, Tim?
Well,
All we have
I
is.
think we-
Are you
we-
talking 2 years or are you talking 5 years?
we're looking at transitional offices, probably starting in April, right?
Yeah,
March or
what
April.
we'd like to do is to get this project out to bid in January, while the bidding climate is good. And then, from that point on, it'll probably be about a year process of evaluating the bids, starting construction and finishing.
Okay, thank you.
Julie Mullen, Meadowland Drive, also a tax collector. Does the new building include an office for the tax collector?
There's office space in there.
Will it be designated for the tax collector?
It depends, does a tax collector want to be in the township? We think it's a good idea to have the township
Well,
tax collector in the building.
Just because I need the lead time on a bill, you gotta realize my bills go to print months ahead of time, and I have to put a location on the bill, so I just ask that I be given enough lead time to take care of that.
Sure, we can.
Are you saying like, you have a space in the township building now, right?
Yeah.
Right, so we would have, there's no reason, in my mind, why you wouldn't have a space.
Okay.
Now, like, we're gonna have to abandon the building for a year, so the issue is, and these are logistics that we're gonna have to work through. We're still gonna receive mail here, I would assume, right? So we're gonna have to.
Well, I'm the only one that receives mail here.
Well-
The mailbox is mine, the township uses a P.O. box.
Okay, well,
So
they're,
that mailbox
I guess they're all logistics we're gonna have to work through.
I know Brian and I are
Yeah.
meeting.
We're meeting tomorrow morning to
tomorrow.
discuss these
Yeah.
very issues.
Okay.
But to Mr. Parker's point, the customer is our residents are our customers. So the tax collector has historically been in this township building and it should remain there.
Thank you, I appreciate
Okay.
it.
Phil, in terms of logistics, there's 3 points. 3 points. We're probably going to be using this building, probably retrofitting this building for any public access, for where we would need public people to come in for building permits. If you've been up on the second floor of the police station, there's a lot of space that we don't have to put a lot of money in, I think, in terms of doing carpeting and stuff like that. So we already have the guts of the phone system in place. It makes a lot of sense from an IT phone perspective that, I could locate up there. We're thinking that the rec people can go back to the rec center at least temporarily. I think we've addressed most people, except the actual where we would meet for meetings. And we can talk about this. One thought I had is maybe reaching out to Pope John Paul High School or a good facility that already has good media where we could continue the taping of our meeting.
Upper Providence Elementary also has.
Oaks.
There's been discussions about alternating our meetings at various locations. That's something we can talk about in different parts of the,
Keep the meetings on the
yeah,
road.
yeah, do.
I know we've
Do
had
on
to
the
have,
road.
just on my tenure here, we've had to have our meetings relocated just because we couldn't accommodate the amount of people. We had a meeting at the Oaks Firehouse one time, and that was standing room only.
Yeah.
And there was easily,
I haven't,
when the
yeah.
chief got sworn in, we had to have our meeting moved
Right.
over to the rec center.
I haven't had a chance to talk to our AVT people because I do know that we're already fit out for permanent, but I think they have the ability to do mobile videos. So all those are in the logistics, which we'll look at.
Yeah, well, maybe one more, right?
Joe Peters, 9 Dana Drive. How far along is the board with this program project? How committed are you? Have you already allocated, set aside the $3+ million? I mean, just where are you in this process and committing? Because they talked about setting up bids in January. I mean, is this phased? Do we get to approve certain phases of this? I mean, or is this is it?
I don't think
I
it's
just
a,
don't
it's not a phased program. What we're looking at this now is because we're actually doing this as part of our 2017 budgeting.
2017, 18.
Yeah,
20.
yeah. I mean, we're looking at doing.
18, 19.
Yeah.
3 years.
We're looking at doing a debt issuance to incorporate some of our roads and to incorporate
So
this
that's all part
project.
of your capital plan spending that's going to be presented as part of the
It's part of the,
2017 budget?
yes, yes.
And onward into 2018, et cetera?
There's been some talk in the media about a $10 million redo of our township building. That is completely and utterly
I don't know
off
anything
the-
about that.
Yeah,
I'm just, what I've seen tonight is over $3 million. I just want to know how far along are you committed already? And what you're telling me is this is a phased 2017 budget issue, 2018 budget issue, and onward.
We're actually, yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Mr.
actually
Peters,
working
we're-
on a 5-year, actually working on a 5-year.
So this is, you're not committed to this entire plan?
I think that we are committed to the
yeah.
plan.
To the Black Rock
So
campus,
you're
yes.
committed to spending $3 million?
There's different phases to the Black Rock campus that involve this building that is not part of the phase that we're contemplating at this time.
Mr. Peters, maybe what you just saw tonight is that you know what we know at this point as far as where we are in the planning for this, but yes, we are committed to moving forward with what the architect here has presented to you tonight as far as what we've reviewed plans, we've reviewed the budget, so part of what this is to help us budget for 2017, like they mentioned earlier that we're looking to move forward with this in 2017.
Okay. So 2017 is going to be the first stage. We'll see that budget proposal as part of the overall capital spending plan.
Yes.
You'll see that when we come in with the 2017 budget.
Right.
This is just preliminary budget work right now.
The bids were received Thursday for the demolition of 1334 Black Rock Road and the construction of the Western Park entrance. 9 bids were received. The low bidder is BRB Contractors from King of Prussia. For a total bid price of $112,760. And we've checked their references, and the gentleman is primarily a demolition contractor, not a park driveway construction contractor. But he has utilized several subcontractors, and we've looked at the subcontractors that he's proposing. and they have done paving work. So with some hesitation, we are recommending award the bid to the low bidder and recommend moving forward with the project. One other contingency is the PennDOT permit has not been issued in writing. We do have a verbal from them, but I don't have the permit in hand, so I could go out and build the road today without that permit.
What's the timeline on this?
The timeline would be have the road, weather dependent, be completed before the end of the year. We provided, I think, 45 days. My recollection is right in the contract documents is 45
This is
days.
the alternate driveway, correct?
Yes, this is top of the hill.
Mr. Chalman, do you have any comments at
The
this
other
time
side
about
of the
this?
property.
The ultimate driveway described.
To the park, to the
Oh,
park.
to the park. Is
To-
it, no, is it light use, heavy use? Is it a minimal use driveway?
Want me to go to the next one?
Yes.
Why don't you come up, Mr. Troutman, and ask your questions at the mic, and Bill can move over there.
You know, plain and simple, my wife and I have discussed this quite a bit, because, you know, the park does get a lot of traffic in it. Yes, we understand, we bought the place with knowing the park was there. But, you know, you already have two driveways in to the park, which is down, yeah. And it's, you know, it just seems to us like it's just a little overkill for adding another driveway, a main driveway.
This isn't really a main driveway, it's an access to the park, while this one's being closed and under construction with the new building and new parking spaces over here. But it will remain open for park access so that you don't have, what we're trying to avoid is there was concern that you have people going to the park and traffic with,
Somebody getting, a kid getting hurt because of trucks or something like
yeah,
that.
municipal
Yeah.
trucks or police cars coming in and out, fire trucks coming in and out, so having a separate entrance for the park entrance, and then have the business entrance down here where it exists now.
Because of our the way our campus is set up, we have municipal business being done here with
In the middle of the camp.
And with the residents coming and using it as a park. So we're kind of trying to,
Separate them.
yeah.
So, and then after the construction's all done, the three driveways will be in permanently. Okay, essentially the one above my place is going to be specifically park people.
The main driveway is going to remain the one across the street. And actually, if you saw on the plan, that kind of has like a little bit of a boulevard
Yes.
look
saw
to
that.
it. So it'll be more of a welcoming to here, and you'd be able to access through there too.
Okay. Is there going to be any, okay, that driveway at nighttime, is it going to be closed? Is it going to have a gate across it at any time? No, has that been considered or?
It hasn't been considered, but we don't close the parks physically like that, any of the parks. So it's, unless there's a problem, we probably would not be gating it like you would closing off something completely, but the police are right in the building here, so.
Yeah, I know they are. I see them in the back. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So we're looking for award of the contract contingent upon receipt of the PennDOT permit.
And that's why we have you, Mr. Dingman, to make sure that the contractor does everything he's supposed to, because you said you are okay with it,
Yeah,
but you're going to verify it, right?
yes,
That's why we have you.
correct.
Okay, very good.
We have used BRB before, and I don't
Yes,
remember
we
which
did.
project.
It
For
was the
demolition.
demolition of two buildings. There was a barn
Canal Street.
and Canal
Yeah.
Street. Most recently, it was Canal Street demolition.
Okay, so you have experience with them,
Yes.
but no paving experience with them.
No paving,
Okay.
no construction, new construction experience. It's all
Okay.
demolition.
Okay. All right, so we are we
Oh,
awarding?
question here,
Oh,
question.
My name is Joseph E. Eisenhower Jr. How can you expect to get the same job for half the price? Between, I mean, you know, we think we're gonna get, I've been in business, you all have a budget for your household and so forth, and you don't take the cheapest cleaner, You don't take the cheapest tires, you don't take the cheapest car.
We don't
I
have that
understand
option.
you have a
We,
budget.
yeah,
We don't
no,
have
we
that
don't have
option.
that option. By law, we have to
By
take the
law,
lowest,
you take the lowest budget.
lowest
Lowest qualified.
responsible qualified
And
bidder.
what makes him qualified over, say, SJM?
Our
or
engineer has
Chrysler?
told us so.
We,
Well, that kind of puts this guy right out there in the chopping block.
That's what he gets
Yes.
paid the big bucks for.
He gets paid big bucks.
His,
we'll talk about that later.
We talk about
he draws the specifications that they have to meet. He provides the contract that they have to sign, and they have to provide all the documentation to him before they get a notice to proceed.
Okay, suppose that all goes through and they proceed and you don't get what you expected to get.
We do the same thing we've done in the past, so we have to take legal action against them.
And what if he is a fly-by-night and you get,
There's a performance, payment and performance bond, 100% of the contract value.
what would that mean? He puts money in that drawer or?
Buys an
He
insurance
buys a
policy,
lot
buys an
to
insurance
ensure
policy.
That you can get it done by
Yes.
somebody else for
Yes.
that?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
So we're looking,
Yeah,
Good question.
it is.
I'm glad he asked it, because a lot of people don't understand that we have to take the lowest
The
response.
lowest responsible bid.
And those are graded.
At least those get higher on a sort of
Yeah.
even keel. It's not like the one number that's over here when you see all the numbers over here sometimes.
we look at it, we try to see, is it within 10, 15% of the second guy? I mean, realistically, a lot of times you say the second or the third bidder is probably the real number, you know? Maybe this particular contractor doesn't have any work scheduled for the rest of the year, you know, and he's going to keep his employees busy, you know, versus another contractor lower on the list or higher on the list, whichever way you want to call it.
I just feel sorry for you.
Well, we did
Don't
spend
feel
some-
sorry for him,
we
Dr.
did spend some
Eisenhower.
time on this one, researching the qualifications and, you know, calling various municipalities throughout the day, and there was an effort put in that, because, again, we haven't recognized him as a contractor that builds things, one that demolishes things very well.
Okay, are we awarding this bid tonight?
We're looking for an award.
Okay. I'll make a motion to award the bid for the Black Rock demolition project at 1334 Black Rock Park to BRB contractors in the amount of $112,760.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to award the bid contract for the demolition of 1334 Black Rock Road in accordance with our engineer's recommendation to BRB contractors in the amount of $112,760. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. There you go.
Thank you. Brian, do you have the site plan?
Yeah,
It's hard to see on the.
tough on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to point there, I know it's behind me also. This is the site plan that goes with Rick's work in terms of the building. The building is the darkest shaded structure, the new addition to it, and the existing buildings near it there. This shows the 64 spaces in front of the building. Rick mentioned about 50, but it's about 64 spaces we think we can get in front of the building, immediately in front of the building. And this looks at about a 150 space parking area in the ball field, Mr. Troutman, that is adjacent to your property. It shows no disturbance to the grown pine trees that are there. I understand your statement that they are 20 years old now, and therefore, you know, they're getting up, the bottom is somewhat open, I guess, on them. So maybe some additional landscaping would be necessary there. Minimal grading necessary for the 150 space parking. It slopes gently from Black Rock Road back towards the Public Works building. There's a boulevard entrance between the two parking areas, separated with a green island in the middle. No details on that in terms of flags, lighting, landscaping, that type of thing. But we're looking at a boulevard entrance, and some questions for how far back you want to carry that. Do you want to carry it all the way back to the Park Road that's there today behind the ball field, or do you want to stop the boulevard entrance short of that and make it a regular 20-foot wide road, you know, at some point there? Trails will have to be looked at in more detail with the Park and Rec Department in terms of where they're going to be located throughout the project to make sure the pedestrian folks can get to and from the buildings and to and from the ball fields. This does propose closing the current driveway that's immediately opposite this building, and that would be totally closed. I suspect that ultimately the crossing area would be moved up to the boulevard also. We've got to go through some PennDOT permitting there. There's some utility poles out there that are probably going to be relocated as part of the project. Stormwater management would be in the green areas between the parking lots, the 150 space parking lot and the front of the building. Majority of the mature trees that exist near the township building today would come down. We can look at very site-specific ones, but I would say 85% of them will probably not be there as a result of that parking lot. We're doing infiltration testing tomorrow for the stormwater management facilities. That work will start with the public works crew completing the excavation tomorrow, and we'll be there to witness some testing on that. Part of this, we'll make sure the utilities are carried up to this building or this side of the road in terms of stormwater and wastewater facilities. You got to respect the existing utilities that are out there. There's a public water line that runs along the existing tree line back to the public works building. Some of the highlights, and probably looking at a budget of $1.5 million, approximately. And that maybe upwards of $2 million, depending on the landscaping. I guess you end up with lighting, site lighting, and landscaping is a ticket item that's out there that's pretty unknown, and also PennDOT improvements, if any, on Black Rock Road would be another wild card at this stage.
I got another question. What type of lighting is going to be in the parking lots? Is it, Jeff?
I don't even think we've gotten that far yet. I mean, obviously, we stick to what's required in the township for other commercial development as best we can, but I don't think we're even.
I mean, typically anymore we've been doing zero cutoff fixtures,
Yeah.
so the light is only down.
And that's what's required
spread on
in the rest of the
neighboring
township.
properties. We'll probably go LED for efficiency and.
I don't care.
True colors on that. But yeah, there wouldn't be any spillage.
Okay.
Beyond
Okay.
the property.
I'm just trying to get a feel for what it's going to look like for me.
The big blinking neon sign that we're going to put on the building, though.
Well,
We didn't tell you about that.
The one that goes along with this ugly red one across the road?
I opened a can of worms, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
I have one more question. When you take away the ballpark that's here, how is that going to affect, because they seem to be used very heavily.
They are used very good.
Is that going to affect what, because obviously the amount of residents, the amount of people in here is increasing, your program sponsorships and all that increase. Is this going to affect it?
I think Drew is involved with some of that. No, I think the Park and Rec Department, or what's the?
Here we go, Jeff knows.
Jeff knows.
Jeff knows this answer.
The Park and Rec Board and I have been working at the very beginning stages of a park master plan for the entire township. We started out focusing just on Taylor, but as we sort of started in the process, we realized we've got to look at the whole township. Black Rock Park is changing. Anderson Farm Park has evolved from the last time that master plan is. We've got Taylor. There's other small pocket parks, even McFarland Park, which you can't really call a pocket park. But we've got other areas like that that we're looking at in the township. So that process is just sort of starting. Right now, I think the Park and Rec Board is starting to talk to the athletic organizations, Collegeville Extreme, Upper Providence Little League. They've identified a bunch of other sort of special interest groups that they're sort of starting that conversation off to see what they think they need over the next 5 to 10 years.
But it's all being taken into consideration?
Yes, we're trying to look at it a lot more globally than we have in the past.
Okay, thank you.
No other questions? Okay. Next is the manager's report.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to get the board's feedback on our 2017 budget timeline. I know we were talking about it earlier. One question, our next regular meeting initially is scheduled for Monday, November 7th. As you know, Election Day is the day after that. This building is used for election. And I'm questioning, do you want to continue, do you want to still have the meeting Monday, or do you want to?
Always have.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'm thinking on November 7th, we should have, I will be able to have my preliminary budget review for the board. Once we accept the preliminary budget, or at least, and Joe, you can help me on this. I think once we make it available to the public, it has to be available for 20 calendar days, right? I don't think it has to be advertised, but it has to be available.
Not calendar days, not work days.
If we were to, looking at the week of the 14th, we don't have any planned scheduled meeting, but I was thinking we could have a budget work session maybe on the week of the 14th. We could do one of two things, have a couple of evening meetings, or we could have one day-long meeting. Or a when I say that, meetings with department heads, or we could just keep it at maybe a two, maybe one. What I was going to try to do was do a general presentation on the 7th. Get this to you guys in advance so you can have questions. Maybe if you feel there's another meeting necessary, we can maybe meet sometime the week of the 14th. What I was thinking is maybe trying to have the preliminary budget approved, or at least approved for public inspection no later than the 21st. And that would probably take us 20 days. Joe, help me here, would take us up to the...
Well, you could have, are you talking about having a special meeting for adoption?
Yeah, we could do that, right? So.
People do it all the time.
So.
5-minute meeting.
Just trying to get your feedback, and we can get some of these meetings scheduled. And we don't have to make a decision tonight. I can get you some proposed dates. I think we should have pretty good budget numbers from all the department heads. At our next meeting, I expect our financial advisor to be here so we can have a healthy discussion on our capital budget. And I should have a third quarter financial report ready by that time, so we should have an idea where our numbers are next year. So I'm going to try to be aggressive and try to get you as much information as I can on the 7th. And if you feel that you need more information, we can do a special meeting.
Okay.
Capacity rights agreement?
Yes. Make a motion to approve
Brian, next slide, please.
capacity rights agreement for 7 EDUs for the Glen at Upper Providence LP of 101 Stewart Lane, Chalfont, PA, located at 169 Bechtel Road. End of motion.
That's...
Okay. I'm sorry, Lisa, you're done?
I'm done, end of motion, the end.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion, a second, for a capacity rights agreement for 7 EDUs for the Glen at Upper Providence at 169 Bechtel Road. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Motion carries.
Brian, do you want to speak to the next one? This is the fee waiver.
Sure. The East Norton, I'm sorry. Took me back a year there. Upper Providence Little League, forgive me, please. It is submitted a building permit proposing a 20 by 40 pavilion behind the fire company, behind the firehouse on fire company property. And in anticipation of that, the president of the Little League has submitted a request to the supervisors asking that the building permit fees be waived. So we're asking for action on that request tonight.
I assume that they're doing this in concert with the fire company?
I'm checking on that right
Oh, okay.
I did already. I have an email from the president of the fire company acknowledging the
Okay.
application, the proposal.
Okay.
We've waived these fees for the Little League, I think, before, for their different buildings and sheds down there. So,
All right, I'll make a motion to waive the fee for the Upper Providence Little League to build their pavilion behind the Black Rock Fire Company.
That motion?
we have a motion, a second, to waive the building permit fee for the Upper Providence Little League behind the Black Rock Fire Station. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. You still do inspections, safety inspections though, right? Is that right?
There's still a plan review involved, and we will do inspections.
Okay. I'll let you handle the next one.
Is this for you?
I get the next one, too.
You get this, Brian?
In Upper Providence Township, bearing in mind that marijuana is still a Schedule I drug, federally at least, Governor Wolf earlier this year signed the Pennsylvania Medical Marijuana Law, Act into law. The health department's in the process of putting together regulations that are going to consider two aspects of regulating medical marijuana. The first is growing and processing, where they grow it and then they derive the oils from the plant and put it into products that you can consume or apply. And then the second is retail sales of those products. Basically, our zoning ordinance in numerous districts permits both retail sales and manufacturing. So there's no way to simply carve out and say you can't do that here. If the board feels particularly strongly about prohibiting either the growing and processing or the retail sales of marijuana or products containing the oil, it'd be appropriate to add an overarching provision to our zoning ordinance that says any act that would be a violation of federal law is prohibited throughout the township. So you could say that those uses specifically then are prohibited in Upper Providence because they would violate federal law. You can't simply say marijuana dispensaries or growing and manufacturing are illegal. That style of use is just too broad, and to carve it out would be far too specific. So I don't know if the board has any particular feelings about this. You want to do nothing and allow it, or you want to take action potentially to prohibit it, barring a challenge. But now is the time. I wanted to bring it to your attention if you want to take action on it.
Where, under what zoning would this be?
The growing and processing could be M1, M2, a lot of Egypt Road, between most of Egypt
Oaks.
Road and Oaks, and all the way up between Egypt Road and the Schuylkill. And then retail sales is all over the place.
Anywhere that we allow retail sales.
Anywhere you could put a pharmacy or any other retail sales use.
So this, if we were to pass something like this, we're just basically passing an ordinance that says you're prohibited from having a business that violates federal law.
Correct.
That's really what it is.
You would
right?
bar me as a zoning officer from.
So medical or marijuana would just be a byproduct, or it'd also cover other things that would be
That was my next question.
allowed
now.
by the state of Pennsylvania, but prohibited by the federal law. That's really what this comes into play.
And theoretically, future items that the federal government would declare illegal.
Right,
that
okay.
would be somewhat of a Pandora's box. The options are, if you do nothing, then they can make application because it's retail or manufacturing. So, or
If someone were to submit an application tomorrow for either growing or processing or retail sales, I'm obligated to issue it under the zoning ordinance in its current form.
So it's considered retail even though it's medical?
Correct. Just like a pharmacy, just like a Walgreens or a CVS would be.
now they're still going through their process of granting permits to the applicants for manufacture and for sales, and there's a formula of how often,
How long ago did Jersey do this? Because Jersey's, they allow you to smoke it in Jersey. I did a little bit of research on this, but not a whole lot. I didn't know that they did. I did not inhale. I understand that they allow for smoking in New Jersey, but basically their law is kind of similar to what we passed, because it's medical uses only. Is that correct?
I really don't know.
I went to a seminar, the Montgomery County Zoning Officers Association, and medical marijuana was the topic, so everybody came. There's no recreational use of marijuana allowed under the Pennsylvania law, so you can't roll a joint and smoke it. It's
Right.
only, you can apply the oil, you can take the oil in a vaporizer, you can put it in a topical cream and apply it, but you can't take marijuana and smoke it under the law in Pennsylvania.
You can't bake it into brownies or anything like
Correct.
that, right?
Correct.
No, there's certain, I know that there's certain forms that
Right.
you can,
Edibles, they refer to it. No edibles.
right. So,
So they provided you with samples, policies?
No samples were,
It's a dangerous topic. They provided you with sample policies? I guess there's...
no, I mean, we're on the cusp of
This
this.
is
There's
right at the
no.
front edge.
Okay.
and I guess that's where I was going with the New Jersey question, because New Jersey passed this, I want to say like 2 years ago. Does that sound right?
Well, there's all nationwide, every state, not every state, a lot of the states have different variations of what, from flat out recreational to medical only. So I don't know where New Jersey is on that.
I'm only asking it in terms of timelines, because I know that Jersey is just now, like, figuring out what forms to dispense it in, and how they can dispense it. So I'm saying that the timeline from the passage of the law to the timeline of actually having, your pot shop down the street is...
There's time now because they wouldn't have standing to really get a permit yet, because they haven't meted out all the, who's getting the licenses to do it. So there is some time, it's not like tonight immediately.
Is it going to be regulated like liquor licenses, where they only give out so many of them?
Yeah, there's only, what do I have here? A total of 150 dispensaries and no more than 25 permits throughout the state for growing and processing.
Which then you don't even know where they would want to grow it, like in terms of climate, environment, or
Right.
that kind of.
This is being discussed now. I mean, there are organizations.
Yeah.
Warming
I
up,
know they
getting
are,
ready to do
yeah.
it. So what kind of time frame, if we wanted to move forward, how long would it take?
I just read an article about it the other day, but I mean, I think there's definitely months still involved, but I can call out to Harrisburg and get an answer.
I mean, if we were to enact such an ordinance, how long would it take us to?
I can do that, by the next meeting.
Can you also let us know what other ramifications? I mean, one thing I've learned here in 5
Unforeseen.
years is there's always some kind of consequence. When you think you're doing one thing, and then there's a ramification down the road. So if we adopt this, what are the federal things that are
Right,
gonna-
is there some arcane
Am I going to make
federally-
somebody's business who's been here for 20 years illegal by
Right.
doing this? And I don't want to do that.
Right. I'll put something together.
All right.
Okay, next is our consultants' reports.
I think Bill wants to talk again. No?
Mailing of Mennonite, they did that today?
Yes, I mean, they built Mennonite today, they'll be doing base repairs, the next few days, and top will be followed.
Solicitor?
I have nothing to report. Tim and Brian and I are staying on top of tasks through the use of Wunderlist, which is very great program. Where we each add to-dos we have a to-do list that we look at each day, and meeting once a week with staff on top of that. And I think Tim would agree we're pretty much on top. There are things that are on the list, but they're all being worked on.
Weekly meetings are no more. I think we're meeting once every, as needed.
As needed, yep. And I can report on those kind of things at any time you want. A lot of it's litigation or confidential, but a lot of it's not. So if you ever want that, we could let you can access our Wunderlist for that matter and see what all's on the list.
Wunderlist.
Have anything for us, Brian?
Anything else?
Sergeant Dixon? Nothing?
I just wanted to say that I'm so glad to see Sergeant Dixon here tonight. It's a rare treat for us. I know. Thus endeth Lisa's comments for the evening.
Nothing? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.